Hello everyone! The question whether the Centauri and the Narn are a dying race in Babylon 5 is complex and varied. The statement was originally stated by Kosh, who had little faith in both of these species. To fully explore this, it's essential to understand the historical, political, and cultural context of these two alien species, as their relationship is complex. In Babylon 5, the Centauri and the Narn are both rich in history and culture, yet they're both struggling with the consequences of their actions and the realities of their future. Through the story arcs of their respective ambassadors, Londo Mollari of the Centauri and G'Kar of the Narn, we see a tale of decline, survival, and evolution. In this video, we seek to analyze both of these factions' history, social structures, and the events of Babylon 5 to find out if they can be considered a dying race. Now let's take a look at the Centauri and their fallen empire. The Centauri were initially introduced in Babylon 5 as a proud, once great empire that has fallen from greatness. In their prime, the Centauri were a dominant power in the galaxy, known for their advanced technology, military might, and a vast empire that stretched across many worlds. However, by the time of Babylon 5, they were a shadow of their former selves, struggling with internal corruption, political instability, and loss of influence. At the core of Centauri decline is the loss of their empire. Before that, the Centauri homeworld has been in decline for centuries, which eventually led to the empire having fractured. The downfall was caused by several factors, the most significant being the once formidable Centauri military becoming outdated. This decline in military capabilities was largely due to wasteful spending from the Centauri elites. As a result, the aging and inefficient military struggled to maintain control over many worlds that were previously conquered. It also didn't help that half the conquered world's resources were already depleted, making them useless towards the Centauri empire. The Centauri's sense of pride, however, keeps them from acknowledging the depth of their decline. This pride manifested through their culture, which is deeply rooted in their sense of belief of being dominant than others. Londo Mollari, as the Centauri ambassador to Babylon 5, exemplifies this pride, though it's clear throughout the series that his desire to restore Centauri greatness was sometimes misguided and also put his people in a dangerous position. One of the most significant signs that the Centauri are a dying race is their relationship with younger, more aggressive powers in the galaxy, such as the Narn and Minbari. In their attempt to regain power, the Centauri have turned to aligning themselves with darker forces, such as the Shadows, whose influence led them down a dangerous path. Londo's deal with the Shadows almost led to the destruction of his people. Towards the end of the series, Londo was forced to become a puppet. During this time, the Centauri lost their ability to control their destiny, and the only way for them to survive and break free was for them to stop focusing on their past and their pride. Now let's take a look at the Narn and their struggle for survival. In contrast to the Centauri, the Narn are depicted as a species that struggled to survive in the aftermath of centuries of subjugation and conflict. The Narn were once a proud and powerful species, but their society was shattered by the Centauri during their expansionism. The Centauri brutal occupation of the Narn led to the near destruction of the Narn people, leaving them scarred and bitter. They spent much of their subsequent history under the thumb of the Centauri, and the trauma of this occupation shaped their psyche and culture. At the beginning of Babylon 5, the Narn are a people grappling with their past. They're a species bent on reclaiming their lost honor and seeking vengeance against the Centauri. The Narn military power, while growing, is still no match for the more advanced Centauri forces. This drive for vengeance consumes much of their actions, leading to a series of conflicts that puts them at odds with other races in the galaxy, most notably the Centauri. Although driven by their desire for vengeance, they're still not hopeless. The Narn are a resilient species, and their culture is deeply intertwined with the idea of survival and adaptability. The Narn people are survivors, and their ability to persist in the face of overwhelming odds is one of their most defining characteristics. However, their continued focus on war and revenge against the Centauri leads them down a dangerous path, one where they risk becoming just as corrupt and destructive as their former oppressors. The Narn obsession with honor and growing their empire has put their people in a cycle of self-destruction. By the end of the series, G'Kar, the Narn ambassador to Babylon 5, has undergone significant transformation. He evolves from a bitter, vengeful leader to a more thoughtful spiritual figure. This shift in character suggests that the Narn too have the potential to change and adapt, but whether this will result in the salvation or extinction of the race remains to be seen. The idea of a dying race in Babylon 5 is not merely a question of population and physical survival. It's more of a cultural, political, and spiritual decline. The Centauri and the Narn are both in their own ways of fading civilization, each facing a critical point in their history. The Centauri reliance on outdated traditions, imperialism, and corrupt alliances is driving them towards extinction. They're in a state of crisis where their future is uncertain, but they're not ready to let go of their past. The Narn, on the other hand, are not necessarily dying in terms of population, but they are at risk of losing their souls. Their obsession with revenge and their thirst for power could ultimately lead to their self-destruction. However, unlike the Centauri, the Narn are showing more signs of a potential renewal. Their ability to reflect on the past and move towards a spiritual and philosophical growth, as exemplified by Jakar, suggests that they may survive and even thrive in the future. The answer whether the Centauri and the Narn are a dying race is not straightforward. Both species are deeply wounded by their past. At the end of Babylon 5, the Narn approach towards spirituality and unity took them off the road of self-destruction, while the Centauri are stuck in a state of limbo due to being held hostage by the Drakh. Eventually, they were able to break free under the leadership of Veer, which she was able to lead them to the right direction. Overall, at the time, Kosh's statement was true. Both species were heading to self-destruction, but due to a few key characters, they were able to move their people to a new direction of peace and prosperity. If you enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe, and also click on the notification button to keep yourself updated with my channel. For more sci-fi content, then please check out these other two videos, my socials, and my newsletter getting ready sci-fi information on a weekly basis. Thank you for watching Utopian Broadcast, and I will see you next time on my channel. Thank you.